So today I've got Peter, VK3YE, from the famous VK3YE amateur radio VK3YE. Is that's what you're calling yourself on YouTube now?
Amateur radio VK3YE, I think, on YouTube. Just search VK3YE in Google and you will find links to YouTube channel, website, even lots of books, lots of reviews.
This is a promo video for you, Peter. We need to make sure that we need you to get to 20,000 subscribers before I do.
Yeah, it's a race to 20,000. I think I'm on 19,600 when I last looked, so just 400 to go.
You're gonna beat me easily. For those that don't know, you're the most famous Australian ham YouTuber.
Oh, I'm not sure. Some people might.
Well, according to your book, it says that Australia's top ham YouTuber.
Ah, yes. How do you define top? I've got over 1,000 videos on numerous aspects of amateur radio, lots of different playlists. So, yep. In terms of numbers of views, there's probably about 4 or 5 million views since the channel's been going, which is since 2008. So it turns 15 next year.
15, yeah, wow. Yeah, you've been doing it a lot longer than me, and I remember watching some of your videos back in the early days.
Well, they were a bit embarrassing, I think.
Well, I think everyone's videos are embarrassing in the early days, aren't they?
Oh, I think that some might still be.
Yeah. So you're at our local radio club tonight. You're giving a presentation which is going to be uploaded on this channel called 6 Winning Ways to Get Contacts on HF. So, yeah, we'll show that anyway a bit later on. But I kind of wanted to do a little bit of an interview with you because last time I was in VK3, you did an interview with me, which came out blue in the end.
That's right, yes.
So I thought I'd return the favour, and I'm just making sure that on the camera...
This one will turn out red, will it?
Yeah, I'm just making sure. Yep. When did you get started in amateur radio? Because you're in VK3 now in Victoria, but I believe that you started in Western Australia?
In Western Australia, yes. I started off as a shortwave listener. In fact, I was fiddling with electronics a lot earlier than that.
You've got some photos that you showed me.
That might be a bit embarrassing.
So this I'm not sure. We might have to just zoom up in post on this one, but that photo's there of you playing with radio on your knees in the sand. Nothing's changed much, has it?
No. It was actually a electric tea stirrer, and I remember taking it into school. So it was just they would have cost a fortune. 4 C-sized batteries and a motor with a teaspoon attached with a rubber band and some suspect liquid in the glass.
Suspect liquid?
It was probably Milo.
But, okay. I was going to say, you're a bit young there for anything more hard-hitting.
But yes, this was our backyard then.
Excellent.
In country Western Australia.
So you what age were you there?
Probably about 8 or 9 or...
So you probably... So you got interest in electronics from a fairly early age?
Yeah. Like I built... In fact, I found one of my school, primary school things where I mentioned I was into it from when I was 5 3/4. But I think I would have been wrecking things more than actually building things at those times.
Yeah.
And I did, was given kits and crystal sets. I did have a crystal set going when I was 8, so that was, I suppose, a milestone in many amateurs. And then a shortwave, and around this time I also got a shortwave radio, a Valve shortwave radio, Astor radio record player. It only covered 3 shortwave bands, the 19, 25 and 31 metre bands, so that's around 15, 12 and 9 megahertz, and it was on the downslope of the legendary Solar Cycle 21, which reached its peak in 1980, which was around... so conditions were still good, so I was hearing stations from all over the world, so I was hooked. And a few years later on, I had a radio that you could hear this duck talk in the form of amateurs, so
SSB.
Then I was exposed to amateur radio, and then a bit later on I built a transmitter, got on air and started making contacts.
What's your favourite radio that you've ever built or owned?
Favourite one, the most used would be the FT817.
Yeah, well, you're famous for that, aren't you? You've just done a sand video on that, and that caused a bit of controversy, didn't it?
It did. I think I'll be marked forever as the rig abuser. Like if I was to ever sell any of my equipment. No one would buy them because they'd know how much encrusted in sand they are and how much abused they are. But yes, there are some people that absolutely handle what we learned from that video, and I'd suggest look at the video, read the comments. Some people want their rigs to be pristine museum pieces, and they handle their rigs with kid gloves, and yes, I probably should have got a little vacuum cleaner and
cleaned it out
and vacuumed all the sand, but there was actually surprisingly little sand in it. So yeah, the FT817 isn't the perfect rig for being robust, but it's pretty good, and there are a lot of more expensive rigs that I probably wouldn't abuse to the extent that I have done my FT817. So yeah, as far as favourite rigs, I think some of my double sideband rigs have been a lot of fun. Some of my homebrew CW rigs, even some SSB rigs. There's certainly a great achievement in getting voice contacts, particularly in a rig that you've built yourself. So there's rigs like the Beach 40. I've got a series of about 6 videos on them, and quite a few people around the world have built them. It's just like 5 or 6 transistors and maybe 1 IC, and that can get you frequency agile double sideband on 40 meters. So yeah, quite a lot of people have built them, and there's a video series about them that interested people can look at. So yeah, double sideband's a lot of fun, especially when the conditions get better on HF. 40 meters during our sunspot trough has been very poor, but now it's with the increased solar count, it'll be good for closer in and medium distances, and that's where QRP double sideband can be really good for, SOTA parks activation, even from home. So yeah, that can be a lot of fun. Also, I've been having a bit of fun with just some very simple 1 and 2 transistor rigs. I've recently done some videos on those, but they do have their limitations, as people who buy my QRP books will know, and I talk about that in other videos as well.
So coming up on your channel, what's the #1 video that nobody should miss that's coming up?
Well, there's a series of videos on fox hunts, fox hunt transmitters. You can get off eBay very simple transmitters for 433 megahertz. That is an amateur band, but here in Australia it's also a LIPD, or low interference potential device. So you can basically buy these cheap little modules. You don't have to be a licensed amateur to use them if you stick within it's like 25 milliwatt, I think, power level. So these are really low power things, yet they can go some distances. So if you are wanting to set up a fox hunt with those little transmitters, then they can be a bit of fun. I have done a previous YouTube series on getting them to transmit AM voice and FM voice, and hearing them on a Baofeng, and but there'll be some more videos on using this as a fox hunt, where I modulate it with a 555 timer, so that spurts a horrible square wave audio into it, and there's a horrible wide signal on about 433 that you'll pick up on your Baofeng, and in fact in that series I talk about how to use Baofengs as a fox hunt receiver, because one of the problems with Baofengs is even if you short circuit the antenna connections, they leak RF like a sieve, so you'll still hear signals even if you're on top of a fox. But in that video I'll talk about a trick using something you probably already have in the kitchen, and you'll be able to have a super attenuator on your Baofeng, so it'll be even less deaf than what it is already, and that will mean you'll be able to go up to your fox, right up to them, and find him. And there's also a digital variable attenuator which you can which it's equipped to, and it's all just stuff from your kitchen. So that's coming up in a future video. So there's a series of that, and also as I was flying over, I was working on another video about Australian radio pirates. I've already done pirates in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and the 50s and 60s. There'll probably be a trilogy, so there'll be another one on pirates in the 70s and 80s, and some of the people here might actually be remembering them, might have even been pirates themselves. So yet another pirate video coming up sometime in the next few weeks to a month on VK3YE on YouTube.
Awesome. Well, that sounds very good. Now, one thing that I wanted to close off with was this book. So the Australian Ham Radio Handbook.
You're going to do a review on that, weren't you?
I was going to do a review on that, and I still haven't got to it. It's been sitting on my bench, staring at me in the face. But we can talk about this quickly. Yeah. So this is available on. This is on Amazon and JCar.
When I last looked at JCar, their stocks were a bit low. So,
okay.
So if there's a JCar reseller or JCar store, have a look. But if not, it's available. That's the paperback. If not, you can get it as a ebook via Amazon. .com.au, or if you go to my website VK3YE.com, there's a book spanner and you can follow it to the Australian Ham Radio Handbook. And this book is basically your get started guide for amateur radio in Australia. There's another book if you're American, then there's a very similar book called Ham Radio Get Started, and that is written especially for American conditions, which are quite different. And because I'm also have the American call AK3YE, so just change one letter, and I'm AK3YE. So Ham Radio Get Started is the American version. Australian Ham Radio Handbook is the Australian version, and this it's a practical manual for getting on air and having success with it. If you want to just pass the exams, there's other books that are better in terms of the theory, but if you want more detail on getting on air, all the different modes you can try, operating and actually making contacts. Some people complain that, they put out a call and no one comes back to them. Well, this book has a cure to all that. It tells you all the guaranteed ways of getting a contact and having success, and all the different modes you can enjoy with amateur radio. So it's much more detailed in setting up a station and having success without spending a lot of money. So this book is probably a good book to get along with a study guide to get you started.
Cool.
And then there's antenna books as well for portable and QRP that you can have a look at on my website.
All right. Well, that sounds good, and I recommend that everyone can get one of those. And the fact that it's in JCar, and also, Amazon's getting it. Yeah. It's getting more popular here in Australia. So if you're interested in amateur radio, then check out Peter's books, and I'll put a link in the description below. Now, one thing before we do go, I know that I'm not sure if you know Mike K8MRD. He's known on YouTube as K8MRD Radio Stuff. He's a big fan of yours.
Really?
He loves all of your videos. He said this to me before, so I wonder if you can give him a quick shout out to say hello to Mike down the other end, because he'll love that.
Hello to Mike K8MRD.
Yes, from K8MRD Radio Stuff. He does a lot of PODA and a lot of portable stuff. So,
Well, hello to Mike, K8MRD. Love your channel. Other people watching, make sure you subscribe. K8MRD Radio Stuff. Like, subscribe, and...
Hang on a minute. What about Ham Radio DX? You can't forget that.
Oh, no, you don't want to watch Ham Radio DX. That's just...
It's because you don't want to get to 20,000.
No, yeah. And of course, there's a great QRZ thread about, how you shouldn't watch Ham Radio DX.
Now, that's one thing that we are both famous for, is for the QRZ grouches video. That's we might have to come up with something a little bit better than that. See if we can top it. We've had a couple of ideas, but we haven't really done anything.
What was that one? I forgot now. But we'll have to do something, because there's not just QRZ grouches. Did you know there's grouches on YouTube as well?
Oh yeah, that's right. There's
don't mention them.
Oh.
We don't want to give them. We don't because we don't want them to have 100. Some of them have less than 100.
Yeah, less than 100 subscribers.
Don't worry about them.
They've got a very important message to get out there.
Yeah, that's sort of an antidote to because we're about people having success and fun with amateur radio, whereas they are about, I don't know, something else.
Well, what do they say? There's an audience for everybody.
Yeah.
And apparently there's an audience for them too. But anyway, we won't talk about them.
No.
We'll let them sit on 80 metres and complain. All right, no worries. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Hayden. A pleasure.
And looking forward to your presentation. So I'll put a link. Where am I pointing? I'll put a link over your head to that presentation, and it should be uploaded. And look forward to it. Thanks everyone for watching.